Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to First Unitarian Church of Toledo on Sunday, September 14, 2025. My name is Tom Sheehan. I'm today's service associate, and I'm here with Reverend Tim, our senior minister. Jeffrey Maxey is at the piano today, and he'll be conducting the First Unitarian Choir. And this is the choir's first official day of this new church year. Our Director of Lifelong Learning, Ginny Gottman, will be telling the story. And the tech crew in the back is led by Walter McGee as producer, and he's also operating cameras. Andy Gottman is director. Jeff Slauson, who is also our church treasurer, is at the soundboard, and Zach Miller is getting some training so he can sit in at one of those seats soon. We have many other volunteers. Also helping, with greeters in the lobby, religious education helpers for today's RE activities, and we have a kitchen crew preparing for coffee hour led by Carla Logan Mercer, our kitchen coordinator. The only doctrine of this church is love, the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. One of those shared values is transformation. We adapt to a changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. We welcome everyone as we sang in our opening song. If you are a visitor, you may notice in the pew rack in front of you a yellow card, and that helps us to know, if you fill it out, that we have new seekers among us. So please do fill it out if you're so inclined. We also welcome those of you who are joining us on our Toledo Unitarians YouTube channel. We hope this time serves your spirit.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Now, autumn traditionally starts just after Labor Day. The official autumnal equinox is 8 days away. Get ready. Thank you for autumn leaves. I'm Reverend Tim, and let me add to Tom's welcome. The flame of the chalice that we light in our gatherings symbolizes courage and illumination and honors our search for truth and meaning. Let's all say the words for chalice lighting together. They're on the screen and in our order of service as Tom lights the flame. Our chalice has the spirit of Unitarian Universalism. We light it centered in love. May it glow with sacredness and shine for each and for all. Let's continue reciting together with Tom leading us in the covenant of our congregation. This is not a creed, but what we share with general agreement.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now, please join in for some congregational singing. A selection from Sing Out Love, the new Unitarian Universalist hymnal. Now, this hymnal is online, so you won't find it in the pew in front of you, but the lyrics are in the order of service and on the screen. This song is by Randy Partain, who is the minister at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland. For those of you who are willing and able, please stand.
It is a song with lyrics that continue for Other Heart is Open, but we began with the 3 beginning ones today. Jenny, please take this microphone.
This is so nice. I'm getting such good service here. Good morning and happy belated Labor Day. I would like to invite my young friends to come forward to participate in the story. Yay, hello, Maddox. Hello. What? I can't hear a word you're saying, my dear. There's not much young kids here. You're the one. You're going to be in this story. Are you ready? Young at heart? Perfect. Are you young enough in heart to sit down on the floor?
No, I can sit down on the floor. I might not get back up.
Okay, you could be here all day. We won't mind. So imagine, young children, that it's 100 years ago. Hey, oh, don't bump your head. I will cry. Jackson, can you come around here so I can look at your face? Thank you, my doll. A century ago, yes. Very cool. Yes, 100 years ago is a century ago. Imagine that we live in a town in West Virginia. It's a town that's about a half day's drive from here. We are going to talk about a battle that happened there in 1921. This is not a battle that happened during a time of war. It wasn't a battle against another country. It was a battle that was essentially between workers and bosses. So the workers in this battle were coal miners. Do you guys know what coal miners used to do or what they do now?
Coal. They mine coal.
Can you go into more detail? Like, how do you mine coal? Where do you go?
They go into a cave where the miners call mines.
Yes, they go into caves and mines, which are like really... With pickaxes, yes. And they just like hack coal out of the earth. They possibly could find jewels. Could happen. The mines were owned by just a bunch of rich bosses. What they did was buy a huge amount of land, and they said, great, now all the coal that is underground here belongs to me. I am going to sell this coal and make a ton of money. And then they hired the miners to go underground and dig out that coal. And the miners don't even get any money. Oh my gosh, have you read my story for today? Hold that thought. So mining was incredibly difficult and dangerous work, and the miners did not get paid enough for what they did. The owners of the mines did make a lot of money from selling the coal, and that is not the only way they made money. They were in charge of nearly every aspect of the miners' lives. Here's how it worked. Who's going to be my employee today? Maddox. Okay. So I own the mine. You have been digging out coal, and it is time for you to get your pay. No, not right now. Perfect. So I have your pay here for you, but you should know first, I own the mine and every house and every business that's near the mine. So I can give you your pay, but I own the house that you live in, so I'm going to take a little bit of that money from you for rent. And you can also give me some of that money because I own the grocery store that you shop at. And I get a little bit of that money because I own the store that you buy your kids' clothes at. And I get a little bit more of that money because I own the store where you have to buy your mining equipment. And so that's all the money you have to pay me before you get your paycheck. And I can charge whatever I want for all of those things because you don't get paid in real money. You get paid in something called scrip. Scrip is like money, except that it is only good in my town. This is the town that I own. I've built it. I call it Richville. I own all the stores in Richville, and you have to pay that scrip to me. You cannot save your scrip up to move to a different town. It is only good in my town where we live. So, you have barely enough money to live on, and sometimes you have to borrow money from me just so you can get enough food and things to survive from week to week. I run the place, you don't get a vote, and everybody you know lives this way. So how do you feel about this system?
I don't like it.
You don't like this system? What do you think you could do to improve this situation for yourself? How would you go about changing things?
We could start a riot against the town owner.
Start a riot against the town owner? Okay, you can do that. You can try to do that, but if you do anything to make me mad, I can fire you. I can kick you out of the house that you live in, which is my house. I can take all of the scrip that you have, if you have any scrip, and I can tell all of the other coal miner owners around here not to hire you. So now you have no house, you have no job, your kids don't go to school, you have no money to buy things, and you are not allowed in my town. I have done this to a lot of people already, and now I'm doing it to you. So the only thing the option that you take now, what most people did, they would go outside of the city and live in tents, because where else could they go? They couldn't make money anywhere else. I know that you're there, and I know that you are mad at me and that you have not much left to lose, so I make sure that my police force goes through this town with their guns. They harass people, they intimidate people, and they make sure that people stay downhearted and hopeless and feel like there's nothing they can do about it. The reason I do that is because you and I both know there are a lot more of you than there are in that tent city than there are of me. And so I'm a little bit afraid of you as well. So that is what set the stage for this huge battle that happened in 1921. Oh, yes, you are, my friend. And so next week, we're going to talk about the battle, who participated in it, who came in to help the miners, who came in to help the bosses, and who ultimately won.
And let's sing the children out as the kids and their teachers go to religious education. In this first of 3 times of intentional spiritual practice in our Sunday gatherings, we look beyond ourselves, considering celebrations and sorrows and the state of things. I say intentional because I hope that for many of you, the entire Sunday service is filled with opportunities for spiritual practice, but the intentional ones are for all of us to share in community. Join me for a time of having our spirit open to what is beyond ourselves. The state of the nation is in a mess, isn't it? Those of us who have a few years are remembering the time from the 1960s and stretching into the 1980s, the early 80s, when politically related shootings, assassination attempts in the United States and elsewhere in the world were reality, not just threats. I say that we need better regulation of weapons, especially firearms and including for ammunition. But we also know that such change would not happen soon, and it takes great communal effort to tone down the violence. There's also the point that the murder in Utah of a conservative influencer was technically a school shooting. And another school shooting that same day at a high school in Evergreen, Colorado, didn't stay in national news for long. There's a family connection from a student at Evergreen High who is safe and our congregation. There are so many ties between just about any person we think of and an instance of violence. One thing we can do is live our Unitarian Universalist values and be good people in the world, and encourage others to live in our ways. Seems trite and naive, but that's a start. There are people in our circles who, with their family and friends, have challenges of life and death, health and illness, home and travel, financial security and monetary stress. Decisions are being made by ourselves and by others on how we can live our best lives. which sometimes means aspiring to that and realizing we have moves yet to make to reach aims and goals. And individual and family ways go on with new lives born and many other joys and celebrations. We all have bad days and good. May kindness and gentleness be with us. May we be compassionate to all, as we don't know what other people are going through. So treat one another well. And may we be glad for their celebrations and ours. Let's continue to have First Unitarian be a place of welcome, of grace, even of refuge from hard times. And that in this liberal religious community, we can help one another, care for ourselves, and have our part in changing the world. Please share mercy and dignity, and remember to breathe. One reason we join in religious gatherings is to realize common links. We know that the uncommon is here too. Let's be together in faith, hope, and love. Amen.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When the road looks up ahead and the miles in your mouth scream on a nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said. Son, you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You've got troubles and I've got them too. There isn't anything that I wouldn't do for you. If we stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. Now some other folks might be a little smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too, maybe, but none of them will ever love you the way that I do. Just me and you, boy. And as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny that you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me.
Though today's sermon is titled, Talk to Me, for this time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, turning inward, I bring you an excerpt of chapter 8 titled, What Do You Say to Yourself? In the 1943 book, Standing Up to Life by Walton E. Cole, who was minister of First Unitarian Church of Toledo from 1932 to 1941. What we say to ourselves is of major importance to ourselves and to others, for all of us talk to ourselves. We say, I've a hard day ahead, but I'll make it. Or we say, I'll never be able to get through. Why did I do that? Our inner attitude makes all the difference between victorious and disastrous living. What are you saying to yourself? Are you talking yourself into personal defeat or into personal victory? Tell me what you say to yourself, and I will tell you what you will become. When we talk to ourselves in a resolute mood, our actions become courageous. The power of self-suggestion is enormous. Our inner attitude, which is at once reflected in what we say to ourselves, has more to do with what happens to us inside than any external circumstance. We are thinking of a matter that is vital to each one of us. Before you talk to yourself again, consider how important is the effect of what you say upon your morale, your happiness, and upon the morale and happiness of your associates. I am indebted to my wife Lorena for some lines which she recently wrote, which she calls On Talking to Yourself. Be careful what you tell yourself, because you may not know how much you listen to yourself. Are you friend or foe? Whenever you say, I know I can't, you're licked before you start. But if you say, I'm sure I can't, at once you take new heart. And when you find you're tired out and things go wrong, take heed, lest you may plant to thrive and grow a disconcerting seed. Don't alibi, yet make quite sure you give yourself your due. 'Twill give you faith and inner strength to see the hard days through. Let's observe 1 minute of silence, and then together we'll sing number 403, Spirit of Truth, of Life, of Power, the lyrics to which were written by Horace Westwood, who also was a Toledo Unitarians minister, serving from 1919 to 1927. 1 minute of silence.
Today's reading is from a 1970 book published 55 years ago and written by Barbara Walters, a famous TV interviewer, titled How to Talk with Practically Anybody About Practically Anything. It does use the language of the time, so we've updated it to be inclusive regardless of sex or gender. Barbara Walters wrote, "We're finding on the Today Show that clergy are among our most articulate, attractive guests. But I can remember a time when people dreaded being stuck in a conversation with a clergy person because it seemed certain to be pompous and dreary. All that changed about a decade ago, so that would be around 1960, when the Right Reverend John Robinson, English Bishop of Woolwich, declared that God was dead, and Pope John XXIII announced that he intended to open a window. There's almost nothing you can't talk about to a member of the clergy, except for the fundamentalists whose beliefs must be accorded courteous respect. The possibility of fast liberalizing during the salad course is remote anyway. Most clergy people today seem to be ready to discuss religion in flexible, non-defensive, even startling terms. And a great many of them know more about their community's poverty, racial, and mental health problems than do the politicians and social workers. So feel free to ask questions that you might not have a few years ago. Ask about the changes in their church. You can ask a priest how they feel about the pill or abortion or marriage for priests and nuns. If you're a church or temple goer, mention what is happening in your congregation that's unusual, and ask them if there's something similar happening in theirs. Ask about their involvement in secular matters. Does the clergy member feel that the church belongs on the street? Ask what led them to decide to devote their life to religion. And if you're getting along swimmingly, you can even dare to ask what holds them and if they sometimes consider leaving the pulpit. I asked such a question of Bishop James Pike just before he set off for Israel and met his tragic death. I commented that he had officially left his church, and he was showing a great interest in the Old Testament and Hebraic scholarship. What would separate him from becoming a rabbi in the future? He answered that indeed he didn't see much separation, but he was now still a Christian. Switching to a different topic, a rabbi I know tells me that one of the hazards of their calling is the lonely member of the congregation who sees the pastor as the most desirable person in the world. It's a well-known phenomenon. Lecturers at theological colleges warn about it. If you've established a comfortable relationship with the clergy person, you can ask about that.
The key to good ministry is relationships, and communication is vital for such connection. Not so much through email or texting or social media or publishing a church newsletter, but communication by conversation, one-on-one and group conversation. And more than general talk, some specific conversation about the both of you or the people in a group, to share some of what makes you you, and to give some trust to the religious connections you make through your church. As a minister, I've studied the importance of relationships and communication, learning about some of the different levels from surface and small talk to in-depth telling of people's truths and how pastoral attention can help. But as an individual, I know that I'm not particularly good at starting conversations with individuals or groups of people, or of steering our words to the deep matters that can be explored between a minister and a member of the congregation. Understand that I'm not a counselor, And pastoral care is not therapy or analysis. But conversation can help both the minister and the member of the congregation to relate in a way that's sacred, bonding, and helpful for personal growth. As for my talking skills, yes, I was a communications scholar and a journalist before this congregation ordained me to ministry. No, those labels and working with words don't necessarily mean that the person is an excellent conversationalist. I've always felt that I do better on paper, having the time to think about what to say and how to put it. I don't always have good words ready to speak. And it was that way even before I started having the so-called senior moments when a word just doesn't come to you. I'm not the best conversationalist. I know that. I do much better sharing my words if I write them down and then use a script than I do with no notes, speaking in the moment. I've told you the story before about Martin Luther King Jr. and his written sermons, that someone had urged him to set his script aside and let the Spirit talk. King replied that he tried that, and the Spirit said, "Use a script." Sermons aren't conversation. In my interactions with other people, I don't often have stories ready to tell. I'm not a raconteur, and even making small talk and showing that I'd like to speak with someone, such as "How's the weather?" or "Do you have a minute?" can be a challenge for me. Not the best quality for a person in a leadership position, I know, but here I am. In the Barbara Walters book that had Tom's reading on talking with clergy, she had this point about being in communication. A conversation, even a brief one, should have all the best features of any functioning human relationship. And that means genuine interest on both sides, opportunity and respect for both to express themselves, and some dashes of tact and perception. Conversation can be such pleasure that it is criminal to exchange comments so stale that neither really listens. So, let's get beyond the small talk and into what helps us to explore what matters to one another. What might we talk about? In the book Super Communicators, How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection, which was one of the books for my training last year in transitional ministry, author Charles Duhigg set out a number of possibilities. Conversation can help with decisions for goals and seeking through negotiation. Can address emotional aspects by bringing up feelings. And can be for social reasons, making for bonding and building identities. These three areas of decision, emotional, and social connection are, as the author put it, being helped, heard, and hugged. Let's talk. There's much we could say. And please don't be concerned that I'm busy, and don't worry about interrupting me from another duty, but do be aware of my talking to somebody else. Talking with people is much more important than doing the office work, and the work can be done later. Tasks, chores, and other things can be done much more easily another time. A delay in conversation often isn't good. Plus, First Unitarian has many members, and it's hard to keep tabs on everybody, so I depend on people in the church, such as through the Caring Circle and other word of mouth, to let me know what's going on and who might benefit from pastoral care, but it's better person to person. So please be directly in touch. Talk to me. Here I am, your minister for the past 8.5 years. We've done pretty well in this holy and business and even friend relationship with me as the minister. But I think we could do better. And through our being in good continuing conversation, the church would be better too. I'm speaking about this on a Sunday morning because I don't think we have the conversations, relationship, and growth we could have with better communication. As I already said, don't wait for me to reach out. I work here and have or can make the time for us. You have much outside of these walls, I presume, and I can make your schedule work for us. Also, I get the feeling that people look at me and think that I'm unapproachable. Do I look naturally grumpy somehow? Ignore that. Even if I'm not smiling or if I appear too directed towards something, interrupt that and help me to reset my demeanor as kind and compassionate, please. There are a couple of people who correct me, and I welcome that. Such as if I begin an encounter by asking a question rather than saying hello, which is being on task instead of in relationship. A bit of steering into better civility helps me. Behind my wrinkles and possible scowl, there is a nice person. I hope you know that. There's also the factor that I'm an introvert. No need to get deeply into explaining introversion. What it gets to for us is that I tend to keep to myself. And that personal quality likely was a factor in my having careers that are dependent on reading, writing, and research. Activities that I love to be engaged in, but I also need to be part of life around me. And please help me to do that rather than putting all the responsibility for connection onto me. I did find on a Christian blog called Practical Shepherding some points you might want to hear about introvert pastors. Here's what John Davis wrote. Most people are surprised to learn that the vocation of pastor actually attracts a lot of introverts. You'd think we'd be scared off by all the public speaking, but actually, no. We love preaching, and we really love all the studying that goes into a sermon. However, what does sometimes make us introverts uncomfortable are the more personal interactions, the home and hospital visits, the small talk before and after services, and the going right up to someone we've never met and starting a conversation cold. So there's one side of pastoral ministry that's right up our alley, and there's another side that extroverted pastors are much better at. It is often said that introverts don't necessarily dislike being around people, it just drains them. They recharge when alone. Extroverts are apparently the opposite. I've found this to be true. I dearly love Sunday mornings, he said, and being around our people. It's just that those times always drain me. If I am honest, the writer adds, there have been times when I have used introversion as an excuse to avoid shepherding these people. Instead of visiting, I have found excuses to study more. There have been times when I have lingered in my office instead of catching up with our people out in the lobby. Sometimes you need care for yourself, but sometimes you need to get over yourself. That's the end of his passage. If you want to tell me to get over myself, do that. But give me a moment or more to process that command. Sometimes words meant to be loving are harsh, and I've projected that harshness myself. Not necessarily introversion, but quiet. I also note that there's a lot to be said about silence when you're in company. If we get to know one another, there is such a thing as unspoken conversation. But bonding by talking is kind of a first move to reach the calm silence in company. We're Unitarian Universalists. We don't necessarily hold the same beliefs, but we try to support each other's seeking and sometimes finding in community. How can we do that well? Through conversation, by sharing stories and learning about one another, affirming that though we might have different spiritual paths or even destinations, we can have joy in finding where our journeys connect and stay in communication when they diverge. Please include me in these conversations, whether one-on-one or as a group. Over the years, I've shared a little bit of my religious timeline, but I don't know yours too well. And you might not remember enough of mine to find our commonalities. So let's continue to share good words. Talk to me. I let you in. Does anybody know the source of that quotation? I'll tell you at the coming soon part of the service. So be it, and blessed be.
Thank you, Tim. At this time, for the offering, we will pass the baskets here in the sanctuary. All of you, including our YouTube viewers, can also donate electronically or by mail. Thank you for being generous and for helping Unitarian Universalism to thrive in Toledo. For more congregational singing, let's sing number 1023 in the Teal hymnal, Building Bridges. Please rise if willing and able.
Thanks.
It's the coming soon part of our gathering where we tell you what's scheduled for next Sunday, we give some announcements, And we also let you know what's up for right after we leave the sanctuary. Next Sunday, join us for Spiritual Forum in Fellowship Hall at 9:45 a.m. when our member Terry McCauley will lead a session on poetry. Bring poems that you wrote or published poems that you like.
And for the 11 a.m. gathering next Sunday, Reverend Tim will bring a sermon entitled Sunday. That's 2 words, and it will be about climate justice.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. is the monthly meeting and potluck dinner of Together Women Rise in Fellowship Hall. This month's grantee is Lotus Outreach of Cambodia with the Girls Access to Education, or GATE project. If you want to attend, bring a dish to share along with your own table service and dining and serving utensils. For more information, see Susan Spiegel or contact Marcia Klunk.
The First Unitarian Walking Group will go through its paces at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday at Oak Openings Metro Park. Meet at the Mallard Lake Buhner Center parking lot and plan to walk for about an hour.
After a summer off, the Film Club returns this coming Saturday at 1 p.m. It will have a potluck in Fellowship Hall, a screening of the movie Mirror Mask, a 2005 fantasy film produced by the Jim Henson Company with a screenplay by author Neil Gaiman. Our member Lisa Blake will moderate a discussion after the movie is shown. If you go, take a dish to share and your own tableware and beverage. A main dish, possibly pizza, will be provided.
And we are happy that our choir is back. If you'd like to join, we rehearse on Sunday mornings at 9:30, usually in the Rudolph Music Room. All you have to do is show up.
At the end of the sermon, I said I would tell you about the source of the quotation with which I concluded my talk. I said, "Talk to me, let me in." It fit well there, but in the vein of coming soon, it's only 6 weeks and 5 days until Halloween, and doing the kind of preparation work I probably shouldn't be doing for a sermon, I found a movie on Netflix with the title, Talk to Me, the same title as today's talk. That Talk to Me is an Australian horror movie that might fit Halloween frightening. The description is a group of teens turn an embalmed hand that can possess the holder into a rowdy, risky party game. But once the rules are broken, there's no going back. The words for the teenager to be possessed? Talk to me. I let you in. The movie didn't have the fun hand activity of Thing from the Addams Family, which you can see on the Netflix show Wednesday. You know from my preaching that both sermons and conversation can have wide range and sources can come from about anywhere. But let me repeat my plea from the sermon now. Talk to me, I let you in. And I invite Krista Schneider, the president of our congregation, to say a few words. This Sunday, I understand she'll have an invitation to membership, and I have the membership book and pledge form handy. Krista, talk to all of us. I let you in.
Membership, I let you in. But before that, Carla in the kitchen has asked me to say that if you are using a dish that has, or a cup with a green ring around it, that goes in the compost, and she is very short-handed today, so please do that, because usually the person who goes through the trash and picks those out, not me, isn't here. So Please look for your rings on your plates, put them in the compost. Anyway, many Unitarian Universalists are not sure of their religious beliefs. In fact, because it is non-creedal, Unitarian Universalism appeals to many people who see their religious life as a journey or a responsible search for meaning. Membership in a church does not require any kind of test or declaration of belief. Unitarian members of our Toledo church come from many different backgrounds and hold beliefs from many different traditions, including agnostic, theist, atheist, humanist, Wiccan, Islam, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, and everything in between. We join the church and we join together, not because we have a shared concept of the divine. Rather, we gather because life is richer and more fun in community than when we are alone. We join because having a church with a solid, thriving, active membership that we can count gives us credibility and strength to advocate for our shared values in the broader community. Membership in First Unitarian Church of Toledo has different meanings for different people. For some, it may be a way of outwardly acknowledging an inward commitment to Unitarian Universalist values. For others, it may just be a drive to join this particular religious community because I'm in it. Others feel like membership's going to give them a chance to vote, and they want to have that responsibility and take it on and assume that for the future and thriving of our church. Membership in First Unitarian Church of Toledo is open to any person who is 18 years or older, who is in general sympathy with the purposes, goals, and programs of the congregation, and with our shared Unitarian principles. All you have to do to be a member is sign the membership book and sign a pledge form. Whoa, a pledge form. That's the scary part. There's no minimum pledge. You can pledge what your bank account will allow you to pledge, okay? So don't feel pressured. It's a symbolic token. Now, if you do have a lot of money, we should have a one-on-one conversation. I invite you to let me in. Anyway, so that's all you have to do. If you're not sure, though, about becoming a member, some ways to help you decide would be to just get involved, join a committee, meet other congregants. Who knows, you may even get that "I've found my people" feeling, and I hope you will. We're also kind of investigating bringing back the new UU classes and workshops, and we'd like to begin offering them again. But I don't want you to feel pressured. You're not my kids, who I do want to feel pressured to do things. So I'm not going to pressure you to enter membership before you're ready to take that step. But for some people, the amount of time from that first visit to become a member is relatively brief, perhaps a month, a week. Others may take longer. Still others of you may come to this church for years and never become members. I personally hope that's not the case. I will say that I actually signed the book twice. I forgot that I'd already signed it. And then I remembered. Because I forgot. Anyway. All of you are welcome here. I do hope that you will join. That said, you should do what feels right to you. But I would like any of you to find me and Tim in the lobby, Tim? Oh, right here, let's do it right here. To come, you can do so now, you can do it right after the service. We're gonna have the book. Please come and sign. I know a couple of you have already said that you're ready to do so. And if you need help getting up here, I will help you. Thank you.
And Kristen, let's keep this going and have what's known as an altar call. Though we don't have an altar on which to praise the supernatural, we do have this table with chalices, and some people do call it an altar. When I was a child in the United Methodist Church, near the end of every service, the minister would call for those who want to declare their conversion to Christianity and or join the church to come forward. On rare Sundays, someone would go to the altar. Our version for today: if you support the principles and values of Unitarian Universalism and want to make a pledge and sign this book, as I've lost my place, that satisfies the 3 requirements for membership at First Unitarian Church of Toledo, Ohio. So please come forward. Or if you'd rather, see Krista or me after the service, but it would be nice to have a signing in the service today. So, is it your time to join now and to fill the time while people come up, if people come up? Jeffrey will sing the chorus of a new hymn, This Boat by Laura Zucker, with very appropriate lyrics.
And I don't have the music to that hymn on me right now.
Oh, and he lost the music.
I forgot that music.
This boat is a boat on which you can get on to join the church. Come up, please. Anybody? We have Kathy Miller. Everyone, please welcome into membership Kathy and Jean Miller and Tim Reichert. Thank you all for being part of this, and back to Tom for one more announcement.
Actually, I'm going to make 2 announcements. I also remembered after a sabbatical of 25 years. So Krista's not the only one to have signed the membership book twice. So the final coming soon entry is for me to invite you to join us in Fellowship Hall, right down there, after today's service for coffee, conversation, and social time.
And let's have one more observance of spiritual practice. We have gone beyond ourselves with the pastoral time, and turned within for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Now, recognizing the Buddhist thread in our congregation, we will share a time of metta, having for and sending to all beings love, kindness, and compassion. And we also have pagans among us, so we will follow that with the Wiccan Rede. Let's recite those together. May I, may we, and may all beings be well, be happy, be peaceful, be safe, awaken to the light of our nature, and be free. Join ye harm none, do what ye will. And now, please join me in saying the words on the screen while Tom extinguishes the chalice. We send the flame from our Unitarian Universalist chalice with the love on which we center everything to fire up the world and spread equity, generosity, interdependence, justice, pluralism, and transformation. Go in peace, holding, knowing, and centering love in your lives and sharing love in your actions. Merry meet, merry part, and blessed be.
somewhere.